Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to share with you a classic recipe that is super simple, so definitely one of those that you should keep always at hand because it's a showstopper without all of that effort. So I have three components to this dessert. I have a sponge cake, which is what I'm working on right now, and I'm gonna use as filling just whipped cream and a fruity component. I'll show you later. So let's get started on that sponge. As I'm not using any leavening agent, I want to build as much air as possible. So for that we want to separate our eggs into egg whites and egg yolks so that we are able to build all of that air. So I like to do this with a mixer, whether it's a hand or stand mixer, because there's a lot of whipping in here. And one thing that I like to do, and you see me do in most of my videos, is add, if not all, some of the sugar in the recipe to the egg whites as it's mixing, and it helps to sort of stabilize it a little bit, holding on to that air within the whites. So once I get to sort of a soft peak stage here, I am okay to add the egg yolks into that. Some people like to whisk egg yolks with sugar separately and then combine it. I'm trying to keep it super simple here. Now once everything is mixed, we are free to add our dry ingredients. And I have here some flour and a tiny bit of salt that I'm going to sift directly on top, a little bit at a time, and as it starts to get thicker, I just add a little bit of milk here to help it out. We want a nice, smooth, and flowy batter here. So we're working rather quickly, adding that flour so that we don't deflate this too much. So once it's incorporated, you're free to stop and switch to a spatula to avoid over mixing, and all that is left is a little bit of fat, adding some unsalted butter here and folding that in. So just fold it enough to get it incorporated and then stop. We're ready to get this in the oven. So pour the batter out onto your baking tray. I have a silicone baking mat that I just really got into using lately. I think it's quite versatile, but of course a normal metal baking tray would work very well. You just need to make sure you line it with parchment or butter and flour it as you do any other pan. So we're ready to get this in the oven. It's going at 170 Celsius for about 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. You want a really nice gold, sort of evenly spread golden brown color here, but you don't want to overbake this because then it will be difficult to roll it later on. So just cover it up while we prepare the other layers, and as that cools, we are good to go on the next layer. So again, keeping it simple, this is just whipped cream here, nothing super fancy. If you don't have time, you can obviously buy some, but it's quite quick if you have a hand mixer. So I'm just mixing in some vanilla bean paste here and some sugar. I have some recommendations in the description as to how much of each of these ingredients you could use, but you can obviously just alter the recipe to your liking. If you think it needs more sugar, just go for it. So we want that to be stiff, or as stiff as possible without overmixing. And then for my fruit layer, I had a raspberry coulis. If you want a recipe for a raspberry coulis, just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, you're free to use any sort of jam or spread that you like. My coulis is quite intense in flavor, so that's why I liked it. And the color is also very nice and bright. So I add a thin layer of that. I removed all the seeds because I don't like the texture in my cakes. So just bear that in mind if you buy something with seeds, that might be a different texture. So I'm spreading nice and evenly here, very thinly. The sponge is actually going to absorb some of that, and that's okay. Then once you're done, you're free to pour all of that whipped cream, and again we want to spread it evenly, maybe not as thinly as the fruit layer, but enough so that you can roll this out without a lot of it coming out. Now I want to have a very nice spiral when I cut into it, so I'm tucking very, very tightly here and then roll it. I'm trying to cover as much area with both of my hands as possible and moving them at the same time. And once you start, just commit to it, and that way you avoid just the cracks from the sponge. But this sponge cake recipe is actually quite good, and it didn't give me any problems. So at this point you might have some cream on the side, that's okay. We're just gonna cover it for now. You can cover it with a towel. I'm using just parchment because that's where it was lying. But you can use it with paper or with a kitchen towel. This needs to chill before you dare slice it. The more the better, really. But 1 hour should do the trick. And so as I unfold it, I like to just massage it into a neater, rounder shape here. And maybe the end pieces are not as pretty, maybe there's some things just oozing out, and that's okay. I like to trim the ends anyway, and this is kind of for chef testing purposes only. So those are for you. And the rest are just delightful little spirals here of cream and fruit, and you can use whatever flavors you like, and this recipe is actually quite versatile, so you can just take it and run with it. So I hope you like this video. I hope you enjoyed the recipe, and don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and comment for more videos that you might want to see, more recipes, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. So good.